and welcome to the hello and welcome to the return of Backpage Pass. We said we were going to do something about the Federations Cup. We lied. Deal with it. What we're going to do now for you though is we're going to do a little preview or two little previews of the Premier League. We're going to do the first half of the league now, and then we're going to do the second half in another video, which will be along shortly. We're going to start with Arsenal. And Mark, how do you think Arsenal are going to do in the coming season?
Sorry, John, there's a really bad headache from deja vu at the moment.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Deja.
Deja vu?
Knock knock.
No, I'm not doing it. How do I think Arsenal are going to do in this season?
Yeah.
I will be worried about Arsenal from the point of view of they've let 17 players out of the club. Some on loan, some more permanent, like Gervinho and Arshavin, and I think Shamak has gone on a permanently as well. But they have nothing to show. Nothing has come back in. No Higuain, no Rooney, no Suarez, not even a Gustavo to show for their transfer efforts. Even Hamburg are out behind Arsenal these days. So I'd be worried if I was an Arsenal fan. I worry, is it to do with the fact that it's 8 years, 9 years without a trophy? Are they becoming an unfashionable club? Do players look at Arsenal and think, well, I can't earn the top money there, I can't win trophies there. What exactly is the plus point of going to Arsenal? And you know, they need to lure somebody in, a big signing, to kind of get people back on side, get fans back inspired, and just get things motoring again, because they've gone into a zone that they don't particularly want to be in.
Well, it's not even Hamburg that's out behind them; it's Wolfsburg. But I just remember back in June hearing Wenger be all like, "Oh, we're going to spend money this year," and actually really believing it for once when they were negotiating for a contract with Higuain. But then the fact that they quibbled over, €2 million, and it's wound up costing them a great player because they weren't willing to pay. They were only willing to pay 20 million, whereas Madrid wanted 22, and then along come Napoli, who'll pay 34. So forget your 20 million. And then they have this Gustavo thing where they had no, we'll only pay 14 million, then Wolfsburg will pay 17, and he's clearly worth 17. He's just won the Confederations Cup, and he's been a central part of the Brazil team that smashed Spain. And I just can't get my head around it, because either one of those boys would have made Arsenal a real title contender, and I thought that they would be.
And I'll tell you, if they, if you're thinking about quibbling and quarrelling over transfer fees, if you miss out on the Champions League, you're missing out on a lot of money that way. So, is it really worth? At this stage, they need to kind of land the player. But it's difficult to see. The transfer targets are slipping away from them. It's difficult to see who they're even going to go for, because I think Suarez, I don't think that's going to work out for them. I don't even think they should want Suarez. But after that, after Rooney, after Gustavo, who do they go for? Who's left? Who do they want?
I really don't see Suarez fitting in, and he seems to be their only option at this stage. It's all they seem to want, and they're just Walcott and Suarez just don't. I just can't imagine them getting along with each other. Like, all those players, they're all really nice lads for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Wilshere was involved in a fight. Everybody was like, "Oh, typical footballer involved in a fight." No, you just walk along, you saw two lads having a fight, and you broke it up.
Yeah.
And that's the way Arsenal players are. And to have Mr. Bite your face off to win, it doesn't really, it kind of rankles a bit.
Or Mr. I'll bite your face off because I'm hungry.
Yeah, but but at least they have gotten rid of some of the deadwood. They've gotten rid of Gervinho, Minone, Shamak, Santos, Andre Arshavin, Nielsen, Craig Eastman, Jermaine Mead, Scalacci. All those players have gone out. Coquelin's only gone on loan. He'll be back, and he'll be a better player for it. Same with Giroud, who maybe they could have done with selling. But all those players have gone, and Connor Henderson was released on free. But does it help to have those players out of it? They might be dissenting, or they might be distractions for the manager.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, if you're saying, I don't think anybody said last season that Arsenal was strong, had good strength and depth, and now they just released 17 players, or they got them out for this season. and haven't replaced with anybody, so they're even weaker in depth. I think they've probably about 10 or 12 really senior players at the club. They need signings, and I don't know where they're going to come from. And I think it could be a long trophy this season again for Arsenal. And you wonder how long, not necessarily Wenger, but whoever is in charge of negotiating transfers at Arsenal is going to really get, because surely to God somebody's going to get sacked for, or should get sacked for failing at their job of bringing in a transfer, bringing in a good quality player. That's what you're going to turn this team into a team that can challenge for trophies.
Well, we've both made up how we think the table will look on the final day of the season. We haven't seen each other, so I'm going to let you know right now, Mark. I think Arsenal will finish fourth.
Did you? That's funny, because I think Arsenal are going to finish fourth too. I don't think fourth by default. I don't think there's anybody strong enough to actually pip them. I thought last year Arsenal wouldn't get. I thought they finished about fifth or sixth, and they managed to hit fourth. It's kind of a bit like nobody wants it, and then Arsenal just take it. Spurs and Liverpool and Everton last year tried, but they didn't have the quality to actually take it, and Arsenal just ended up with it. And I think it could be a similar situation this year.
Right, well, that was Arsenal. Now on to Aston Villa, and I think Aston Villa could do a lot better this year than they did last year, but they haven't, they haven't really strengthened.
Well, they've strengthened the same way that they did last season, in that they've kind of signed players that maybe not an awful lot of English football fans would have heard of. I'm thinking about this guy, Nicholas Hellenius, who I'm sure they are hoping is a great addition to the squad, in the same way that
I'm going to make so many puns about that guy.
In the same way Christian Benteke was. They've also managed to keep Benteke, because people forget he handed in a transfer request and then signed the contract, as these things seem to go. That was a good that they could keep him. They'll be expecting a lot out of their younger players, that they can hopefully, the season and the pressure that they were under last year can bring them on, and they can be a bit more comfortable this year. I am looking at their fixtures though, and they have some tough games at the start. They're away at Arsenal, home to Liverpool, and I think they're away to Chelsea then. Those are difficult games at the start of any season, so they mightn't get off to a flyer, but I think they'll be more comfortable this year than they were last.
They won the next gen thing, so we'll be expecting a few of those players to come through this season. But those younger players who kind of grew up a bit, they'll be lacking some experience in the team to go with them, as in Richard Dunn has gone to QPR on a free, and Stilian Petrov is third. I know he'll still be there as a coach, and he wasn't really in the squad at all last year either, but just psychologically to just be like, okay, well, he's not with us anymore, he's now a member of the coaching staff instead of a player. Will that hamper them?
Well, Richard Dunn didn't play at all last year, so I'm not sure how much of a loss that is, because Ron Vlaar did quite well. I will be looking at the more positives, that Darren Bent is probably looks like he's on his way out. They're probably trying to get rid of maybe the more trouble-making Deadwood members of the squad. Maybe Stephen Ireland as well. Possibly he could go. I think things will be more positive for Villa this season, although I don't know if they're a top half club quite yet. I do think Villa probably belong around the top half, but I'm not sure they're strong enough for that yet.
So where do you have Aston Villa finishing in the league?
I have them as 14th, comfortably away from relegation, but kind of bottom of the middle of the table.
I have them at 10th. I think they'll do. They'll string a few results together anyway. Next we have Cardiff City. Come on, the Blues.
Cardiff City. The sunburnt Bluebirds. Big season for them. I'm very much looking forward to Swansea City, Cardiff City. The streets in Wales will run red. It's going to be a feisty derby. But I think out of the three teams that came up, Cardiff are definitely the strongest and most likely to stay up, I think.
I think they've bought very well. They bought Gary Medel from Sevilla, Stephen Corker from Tottenham, Andreas Cornelius from Copenhagen. They were all about 8 million, and it's defender, midfielder, striker. They've done pretty well there.
Well, Corker in particular, I was very surprised Spurs would Spurs would want to sell. B Cardiff got him. Then he went to Cardiff, and C that Swansea didn't go in for him. And I think that's a great addition to their squad. I think defensively, they could be quite sound, but maybe they'll struggle to score goals. I think they had players that really scored in patches and not really consistently last year. Looking at, I think the top goal scorers they had were scored 8 goals, and Fraser Campbell scored 7 goals. But he kind of only really came in for a couple of months and then was injured again. I'm not sure they're going to have the players to score goals in the Premier League. Maybe their new signings can complement them and help them in that regard.
Yeah, and just one last thing before we leave Cardiff City is they've released Steve McPhail, which I thought was a bit of a bum move because he's been there at the centre of them, pushing them towards the Premier League for 5 or 6 years now, and now he's just been cut adrift when they finally make it.
I don't feel too sorry for him though. Am I right in saying he played a League Cup final with them against Liverpool?
Did he?
I think he did. I think he might have played that
match. Anyway, I have them finishing 17th. Where do you have Cardiff?
I have Cardiff finishing 16th. I think they'll be stay up. I think there'll be teams worse off than them.
Next team on our list is Chelsea. They definitely won't be worse off. They've brought in some top-class players, the likes of Schürrle and Van Ginkel. Cuevas, Schwarzer. Schwarzer's a very good signing for a free. But their best signing, I would post, is Jose Mourinho.
Yes, it's all been very eerie around Mourinho. There's no big talk. There's no big chat. It's just kind of they're trying to fly in a little bit under the radar, I think, and that all bodes very well for them. But Chelsea look very, very strong. Maybe they have too much talent because how are you going to fit Lukaku, Torres, Ba, Mata, Hazard, the Oscar, Shura? Is Marin still there?
He's gone out alone.
He's gone out alone. Van Ginkel, Lampard. How are you going to fit all these offensive players? Give them enough game time to keep them all happy. Victor Moses, didn't even mention him. How do you keep all these players happy? But I suppose that's what people say about Mourinho, is he's one of the strongest managers at that, keeping people happy. So, that's his big challenge. And but there's no doubt Chelsea are going to come much stronger than they did last year. They're going to be a lot stronger, and then they're going to be challenging for a lot more prizes.
It'll be interesting to see who Mourinho picks as his number 9. Lukaku, he's unproven, but he showed that he has the right skill set last season along with West Brom. We've got Torres, who top goal scorer for Chelsea last season, and he does a lot to create for the players who play behind him. And then you've Ba, who I thought was, to be honest with you, I thought it was a strange boy in the first place.
Yeah, and also potentially Wayne Rooney, who I think will complement what they already have brilliantly if they sign him. I think it would be a very I don't know what the right word is, but it would be like a symbolic signing almost to kind of take the heart out of Man United and bring it to Chelsea. Like, that's how Mourinho's looking at it. I've no doubt about that. That he smells blood at Man United. He thinks now is the time for Chelsea to become what Abramovich wanted them to become when he first bought them, and that is England's premier football club. And if there's going to be a time when that happens, now's the time. And Rooney could be almost a symbol of that if he signed there. If not, I think Lukaku, if I was a Chelsea fan, I want them to start Lukaku. He seems to have the most raw talent and raw kind of momentum at the moment. I think it'll be a good. I think they should definitely give him the first 6 or 8 games of the season, start him and see how he does. I don't think he'll let them down.
I think Chelsea they never really had a blip except under Mourinho previously, except for that little space where he decided to leave. But I can see it happening. I don't know why I can see it happen. I just think a stronger Arsenal and a stronger Man City. So I have Chelsea finishing 3rd. Where do you have?
I have Chelsea finishing top. I think they'll be too strong, particularly if they get Rooney. I think you can forget about it if they get Rooney. But I think Chelsea will have too much for the 2 Manchester clubs. I don't even think Arsenal will be in the title race.
And yeah, I can't see them win the league, but I can see them taking points. But next team, Crystal Palace. Ollie did well when he came up with Blackpool, but it was kind of did well without staying up. Do you think he can? Do you think he's learned lessons from that, and he can mount a real challenge to stay in the Premier League with Crystal Palace, or are they just here for the crack?
They're probably more likely to be here for the crack. I don't know. I think there's a lot of championship players in that squad. There's a lot of maybe even lower than championship players in that squad. I felt sorry for Holloway when he went down with Blackpool. I wanted them to stay up because they played a very open and expansive brand of football. I just don't know if they can do it this time. I'm looking at Glenn Murray, scored 30 goals for them last year in the Championship, and he's injured till Christmas. I'm looking at the fact they lost Wilfred Zaha. I'm not sure they're going to be strong enough to stay up. I'm not sure they're going to have a strong enough squad.
I think they've made three very interesting signings. They've made a good few signings, but mostly frees. I think Dwight Gale from Peterborough was their biggest signing for 6 million. But I think the three that interest me are Jose Campana from Sevilla for 1.75 million. And I think the talk is that is a proper player. He was just in his last year at Sevilla, and they weren't in a position to offer him first team football. Then there's Kevin Phillips, who was on loan, and they signed him on a permanent, and he scored. He scored in a penalty shootout. He's I rate him. Not to do much, but just to have one or two very special moments because I'm romantic like that. And
he's experienced head in the dressing room at 40, so.
Yep. And also Marwan Shamak, who they've signed, they reckon it's about 1 million, although I reckon Arsenal will still be paying at least half his wages.
Yeah.
He could be very interesting. I thought he played very well for a brief spell at Arsenal, but then just never got back in the team.
Yeah, Shamak, I'd say, is his last chance at an English club. I think he's on a 1-year deal there. If he doesn't do well there, I'm not sure who would touch him, certainly in the Premier League, but they'll need him to find his form that he never really found at Arsenal. Maybe something like that, scoring goals, is the difference between going up and or staying up and going down. But I just don't see it. I have Palace to finish bottom.
I have Palace, a valiant effort of 18th and then just not quite making it. Our next team is Everton, and they have a new manager. It's all changed at Everton. They've brought in a new manager from Wigan and also 3 players from Wigan. They brought in Aruna Kone, Joel Robles, and Antolian Alcaraz, all from Wigan.
Yes, and De Gea from Barcelona.
Do you think that Martinez will adopt the same tactics that he had at Wigan?
Not necessarily. Every manager has to fit their tactics around the players that they have available to them. But I think Martinez's strengths are certainly in the way they attack and not the way they defend. I think fans will probably notice their team will be very, very open this season, and I wouldn't be surprised if Everton kept a few clean sheets. And maybe that'll. I'm not saying that Martinez will be a failure at Everton, but maybe that'll kind of hinder them in his first year and knock them down a few places in the league.
And there's the question of Fellaini possibly leaving. He has that release clause. There's rumours about the length of it and the number on it. If he goes, would you think they should bring in James McCarthy from Wigan?
I think they should bring James McCarthy in any way. I'm struggling to understand why Wigan still have him. Maybe he wants to play Europa League with Wigan. I don't know, but I think they will keep Fellaini. I don't see Fellaini going. I don't see, certainly at United, I don't see how he fits in there. But I think Ross Barkley is actually another player that I really could have a big year. I really think he could have a big year for Everton. I think it'll be a positive year for Everton, but I just don't think it'll be as positive as Moyes' last couple of seasons. I don't think they'll challenge for Champions League football.
I have Everton rated at 7th. What number do you have on them?
I have Everton will slip to 9th from about where were they 6th last season.
Yeah.
I think they'll finish about 9th. I think that's probably something to build on for Martinez. It wouldn't surprise me though if Everton made a breakthrough in one of the cups, because Martinez is obviously FA Cup holder, and Everton have actually themselves come quite close. They've been to FA Cup semis and finals in recent years. Maybe Martinez can be the one to push them over the line.
Next team on the list is Fulham, and Darren Bent is currently undergoing a medical as we speak. They've brought in some very interesting players. They brought in Martin Stecklenberg for 4.5 million, and I think that's probably the best signing of the summer. They've also brought in Adel Taarabt on loan, so you've got all the talent there of Taarabt without the risk of tying him down to a long-term contract.
Uh, you do have the risk though of having Taarabt in your team because he's a bit of a maniac. Uh, I'm not sure. I think Darren Bent, Berbatov, and Taarabt in your team. You know, is the commitment really going to be there? They'll be hoping to see another 15 goals from Dimitar Berbatov again this season. I think with the new owners at Fulham, there's probably a fresh injection of cash there, which is positive. But this season, I don't see them pushing for European places. I think they'll finish, their usual spot, neither challenging for Europe or facing relegation. So I think it'll be a kind of a boring season for Fulham fans. We're going to get really that excited about.
Maybe we should just give a quick mention to some of the players who were released by Fulham. So these are all available and are free at the moment. Chris Baird of Northern Ireland, Simon Davis of Wales, Mahmoud Diarra, and Mladen Petric, who had such a good start to last season, but just didn't quite click for him.
Yeah, where has he been picked up by? Has he been picked
Nobody.
up by?
He's just gone on a free.
Oh, okay.
As of yesterday, anyway. Somebody might snap him up, but I don't think anybody did.
They've cleaned out a number of players. I think their squad is still quite. I don't think they're going to be threatened. I wonder. I'm going to be looking out for Damien Duff this season. So I'm wondering how many years he really has in the Premier League left.
Yeah. He took an awful lot of kicks. He had the ankle problem at Chelsea.
He doesn't have his pace. He has to cut in from the right nowadays. I'd like to see him last a few more years, but I wonder how much he has left in the tank.
So where do you have Fulham finishing?
I have Fulham finishing comfortable 12th. Not doing anything in the top half, not really looking behind them either.
I have them at 14th. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a similar situation last year where they do really well and then get to 40-ish points and go, fuck it.
Yeah.
Next up on the list is the Hull City Tigers.
Rare.
Who coming up from second in the championship.
Yeah, the championship was interesting last season because nobody wanted to come up. They talk about all this cash injection with the TV money, and yet nobody wanted to come up. They were all throwing points away at the end of the season. Hull are in a bit of a similar boat to Cardiff in that they don't have any real what you would call natural goal scorers in their team from last year. They do have some decent attacking players. We'll all be looking out for Robbie Brady to see how he does. Every Irish person will want him to do well. I don't know if they're going to be strong enough to stay up. I know the owners have backed Bruce, and Bruce has been willing to spend. They've brought in the two Tottenham guys yesterday, Huddleston and Livermore. But I'm not sure. I'm not really convinced that they're going to have enough firepower to stay up. It's not going to be like when they first came up and they had that great season when Phil Brown was in charge and what was his name? Not Gervinho.
Giovanni.
Sorry?
Giovanni.
Giovanni, yeah. They were beating Arsenal away and all this kind of stuff. I don't know if they're going to be strong enough to stay up.
They've made some interesting signings. As you said, the two lads from Spurs and then Curtis Davis. El Mabedi, who was there on loan last season, they've got him on a permanent. They've got Alan McGregor, Scottish goalkeeper. They've got Steve Harper as backup. They've got Figueroa. And they've got Danny Graham in on loan. There's potential there.
Danny Graham is the human embodiment of my worries about them scoring goals.
Well, he did okay at Swansea.
Yeah, but he did terrible at Sunderland. I wonder, he has the potential to score, and if he can, it gives them a chance. But I have them placed at 19th. I don't think they'll stay up.
Yeah, I have them placed at 20th. I don't really give them much of a chance either. Next thing on the list is Liverpool, and the big dark shadow hanging over Liverpool's season is, of course, Luis Suarez.
The shame about that is that there was always going to be a dark shadow after the Brighton incident because he was missing 6 games anyway. If I was Liverpool, I'd cut ties completely because he doesn't want to be there. He's dragged your club through the mud so many times in his short time there. I mean, what has he missed? Something like 20 games since suspension, and he's never been sent off once. It's ridiculous. I think he's a bad apple, and I think they should sell. 40 million isn't a bad price for him either, and I think there is quality around the league that they could look to bring in if they did sell Suarez, and also we give the opportunity for players like new guys like Aspas, also Sturridge, and maybe Barini could settle in a bit better there, and also Coutinho. It'll give space for a guy like that, who a lot of this is expected of. I think there are a lot of people are talking as if it's the end of the world if they sell Suarez. If I was Liverpool, I'd be biting anybody's hands off if there's a 40 million deal on the table, or even better, 40 million and £1.
Speaking of chompers, Sturridge did very well when Suarez went out at the end of last season, and he could really press ahead this season.
I can see him getting 20 goals this season. Definitely can if he's given the playing time. Uh, he's able to score individual goals where he's taking people on. He's able to score tap-ins. He's just a very naturally gifted player, and he has an aura about him that can lift the squad. I remember when he came in the game at Old Trafford last season and they were losing 2-0, and he was brought on and he ran onto a ball that De Gea pushed out and scored, and the whole Liverpool section went ballistic. And you could literally see in the Liverpool team that his pace up front and his the way he could attack the goal so directly, it really looked, it really lifted him, and I think he could be a big player for them.
The goalkeeper situation is very interesting at Liverpool to let Reina go out on loan. I know he's on very high wages, but he was in a squad. He won the World Cup technically, and you're just kind of shipping him out to bring in Mignolet. He was a very good keeper, but is he as good as Reina?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've all seen Reina make some bad mistakes over the last few years, but I wonder about Reina. I thought Liverpool fans, both fans and management staff, were a fan of his, but maybe it's the wages. But maybe something has just gone wrong there. Because I remember seeing Reina's quotes saying that Liverpool hadn't discussed this move with him at all, so they've kind of just kicked him out of the club. So maybe there's something we're not aware of. I do, on the other hand, see Mignolet as a good signing. I think that I don't think he'll let them down.
And where are you placing Liverpool?
I have Liverpool to finish sixth. I think they will. They finished behind Everton the last couple of years, but I think they'll turn that around this year. They won't be strong enough for Champions League, but I think sixth is a fair reflection of where they are at the moment.
I have them at 8th for the record. I think they'll struggle.
You do?
I think they'll do well in patches, but I don't know. I can't see them overtaking Everton or any of the 5. And I have a sneaky dark horse as well for European places.
Yes.
But anyway, on to the next. Well, more on that later. On to the next team in the final in this half of our preview. Manchester City.
Yes. Interesting season. It's hard to know with City. A lot of new players, a lot of good new players coming into the club. New manager, of course, Pellegrini. Hasn't won any trophies in Europe, but at the same time has had encouraging seasons at Villarreal, Malaga. I did set a points record with Real Madrid, even though he didn't win anything. So it's interesting to see what trophies they can win or how they can do this year. If you look at the players that they've got out, Balotelli, Tevez, troublemakers like that, I think City are kind of moving into a new era of the not so crazy team where they're more. They have a feel of a more calm, focused team that wanted to become known as one of England's premier clubs, not just a team that money has them skyrocketing them to from nowhere to the Champions League. I think this is kind of City 2.0, what we're seeing now, and they could become a winning machine over the next couple of years. Time will tell, but I certainly expect them to do better and make the breakthrough in Europe. I think Champions League quarterfinals is where they could be this year.
Well, they've spent more than anybody else in the Premier League this season, and the likes of Fernandinho, Jovetic, Navas, Negredo, they're all kind of calm, explosive but calm players. They won't, they're not known for causing trouble, and I think they suit the manager very well because he's a very relaxed person as well.
Yes. I like, particularly like Navas as a signing. I think he's an interesting guy. Obviously struggled with homesickness for years and years, but he has seemed to get over that now. I found interesting Pellegrini talking about Edin Dzeko being his number one striker. I don't see how that can happen with Aguero, Negredo and Jovetic there. To me, he looks like number 4. Maybe he looks like a player that you could even sell. But City do look strong. The one area of weakness that I kind of look at is, will Joe Hart have a good year? Because he had a bad year last year and he made a mistake there in the England Scotland match last night, a bad mistake. So you wonder about him, and I wonder, does Pellegrini have the tactical nous in those really big, City Chelsea, City United games to actually go when the title's on the line and go and win the game? Because obviously his trophy record isn't great. So those are the questions that will remain to be answered. But I do think it's been a positive summer for Manchester City.
Well, a lot of players went out during the summer, including Carlos Tevez, Moicon. Wayne Bridge was actually still a City player until a few weeks ago. Santa Cruz gone, Colo Torre is gone. But I think the most interesting departure from City has been Filippo Mancini, who, funnily enough, has been released on a free transfer. Where do you have City finishing?
I wonder where you see now on pocket money from Roberto Mancini, because I don't know if another club will pick him up. Maybe the next one, Roberto Mancini, the next time he gets a job. I have City finishing second. I think they will be runners up to Chelsea.
Well, I have absolute faith in Pellegrini, and I have Man City finishing first.
Well,
bum bum bum. And with that, we're going to take a break, and we will be back in the next video very shortly.